That's Tim Scott suspending his presidential campaign. Maybe he was running for vice president after all. He says he's not going to endorse anybody. He'll wait and see. As we told you last week, it's now Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley for the #2 spot to take on Donald Trump. As you see, the main event premiering in Iowa in January. Of course, Safe Money says who cares about them? It's actually going to be Trump versus Biden in the general election. That's conventional wisdom. But conventional wisdom, 1 year out, has not been right since 2000. Bush v. Gore ran in front pillar to post. November before the 2004 election, Howard Dean was going to be the Democratic nominee. Turned out to be John Kerry. 2007, it looked like Giuliani versus Clinton. Neither went the distance. That's conventional wisdom for you. 2011, Herman Cain was hot in November. Mitt Romney went on to win the nomination and then lose. November 2015, Ben Carson was up 6 points. He disappeared. November 2019, we had never heard of COVID, and Elizabeth Warren led the polls. Biden was an afterthought. Bill O'Reilly is here, host of the No Spin News. Bill, all right, conventional wisdom going to be right this time around?
It's not conventional this time around because both of the front runners are very well known. So there are in-stone voters on both sides. They're not going to change. And field for the Grand Old Party, named in 1856, Leland, I know you know that, is now down to two, really. It's Ambassador Haley and Governor DeSantis. And I don't think either of them have the juice to overcome Trump, who's inoculated himself against all these charges. His supporters don't care. They think it's a bunch of hooey. And so I think Trump is pretty much a lock. Biden, anything can happen. And the man is diminishing quickly, as we've discussed. He's going to have a real problem with the Hunter Biden grifting stuff. More of that's going to come out. Axelrod doesn't want him to run, which means Obama doesn't want him to run because Axelrod and Obama are one and the same. So Biden, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Trump will be there.
Look, I agree with you. We said a long time ago that the real drama is going to probably be on the Democratic side, not on the Republican side, just because of where it is. And that would hold, right? Or a year out, it wouldn't be what people thought it was. You made a great point, though, I think, that the Trump is inoculated with his supporters as it comes to the issues that have been brought up before and the indictments and everything else. Yet there is some who just can't seem to give up that ghost. Here is an interview with Ronna McDaniel, the RNC chairwoman, about that.
If you end up having Donald Trump as your nominee, and if he is convicted of a crime, do you believe that he would be the appropriate nominee for the Republican Party?
Whoever the voters choose is the appropriate nominee.
Even if he's a convicted criminal?
I know this is newsworthy, but as party chair, I'm going to support who the voters choose. And yes, if they choose Donald Trump.
For people who for so long told us that democracy, the rule of law, preservation of democracy was so important, why do they seem so interested in trying to take away, if Donald Trump wins the nomination, something he won?
Because there's a fear that Trump will go in and run on his record. And if he ever did that, if Donald Trump ever ran on his record, he'd win by a landslide. The problem with Donald Trump is he doesn't run on his record. He runs on the feud du jour, Leland. Whatever feud he's in that day is what he's running on. He doesn't run on his record. His record is pretty damn good. If you look at it, it's light years better than Biden's record. But Donald Trump is his own guy, and he's got the drummer, and he's dancing to the drummer.
I feel like feud du jour is like the soup du jour, which sounds interesting sometimes, but it's never really the best thing on the menu. You brought up Nikki Haley, who you said you didn't think had the chops to take on Donald Trump. Interestingly enough, she's got a lot of money. She just spent $10 million that she announced in ad buys in the initial states, Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. Take a listen.
I've never lost a race. I'm not going to start now.
There's a new sheriff in town.
Don't mess with Nikki Haley.
You should know this about me. I don't put up with bullies. I wear heels. It's not for a fashion statement. It's because if I see something wrong, we're going to kick them every single time.
She seems to focus a lot on her high heels, right? It's not a statement, it's ammunition, on and on and on. That said, if she goes toe-to-toe with Donald Trump, it's one-on-one at some point early on. Let's just say Iowa before New Hampshire, after Iowa before New Hampshire. Can he do to her, as a woman, what he was so effective in doing in the 2016 primary?
Maybe. I think Haley is a good VP choice for Donald Trump. So if he would agree with me, and I don't know whether he does or not, he'd lay off her because she's not going to beat him outright. You say it's going to be Haley against Trump. That's not going to happen. There's always going to be DeSantis there to water her down, to dilute her support. And Trump's support is going to remain pretty rock solid in the Republican precincts. But I would take a hard look at Ambassador Haley as a second slot. And if Trump got run over by a bus tomorrow, and if it's in New York City, there would be a lot of people who like to drive that bus, Haley could beat Biden.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.